There's one body on the ground. It's Sean. My big brother, my hero. I have to avenge Sean. It's in the unwritten rules. No crying, no snitching, and get revenge. Can I follow them? The ghost, my dead father, friends, and uncle. They doubt me. The time is ticking. It's now or never. You coming? Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds is a novel about gun violence in black communities. A 15-year-old teenager, Will, witnesses his big brother, Sean, being shot dead. Will believes that someone in another gang, Carlson Riggs, was the murderer. He grieves, but is committed to following the rules. The unwritten rules in this community tell him to get revenge by shooting the person who killed your loved one. Will decides to avenge his brother by taking Sean's gun from his secret drawer and goes down the elevator to find and kill Riggs. However, on this elevator, he meets ghosts from his past who have perished to gun violence and complicate his view of Sean's death and the revenge killings. The elevator starts at level 7. Will presses the L button, or floor 1 button, and waits. The first person who comes onto the elevator is Buck, Sean's mentor, whom he considered a father. He tells Will that he isn't tough enough to carry out revenge. Second is Danny, his childhood crush. She asks Will what he will do if he misses, something he had never considered. Next, Uncle Mark, his father's older brother, forces Will to think about actually killing and the long-term consequences of his actions, which Will doesn't recognize. Then, Will's father, who died when Will was a baby, enters. He explained that he killed the person who believed killed Uncle Mark, but was wrong and was shot. Will and his father share an embrace, but his father pulls the gun from Will's back and holds it to his head, showing him what it feels like to be the victim of random murder. On the 3rd floor, Frick is introduced and is the only person Will doesn't know from his past. He's the symbol of the 3rd rule in the unwritten rules, revenge. Frick killed Buck without premeditation and was killed by Sean without premeditation also, showing how fast the ferocious cycle of revenge can turn a villain into a victim. Finally, Sean returns and warmly greets all the other ghosts on the elevator, except for Will. Will tries to hug him and looks to him for confirmation of his actions, but Sean just cries. At the end, when the elevator finally reaches the bottom, all the ghosts leave except for Sean. The last line of the novel reads, "You coming?" from Sean, ending on a cliffhanger. If Will leaves the elevator and shoots Riggs, he becomes a part of the never-ending cycle of tragedy and retribution. On the other hand, if he stays in the elevator and goes back up, he leaves behind the revenge plan and potentially puts an end to the vicious cycle of death. The middle drawer in the story represents violence and destruction. The middle drawer that the gun is stored in was out of place in Sean's neat and tidy room, which ultimately led to his death. The cycle of gun violence draws victims in by convincing them that following the rules will make things right and avenge the dead, but in reality, it destroys futures and relationships. Sean's ultimate destruction is shown in the quote, "He just stood there, awkward, a middle drawer of a man." This novel highlights the violence and chaos that oppression and inequality leads to. There's so little police enforcement and actual justice that these savage sets of rules are the only source of grief prescriptions for desperate and broken people, leading to a vicious cycle of endless tragedy. This becomes apparent in the quote, "They, the rules, weren't meant to be broken. They were meant for the broken to follow." Another theme found in this novel is how bad decisions impact much more than just the person who makes them. One act of violence can set off a chain of revenge killings that stains generation after generation. Sean's decision of getting involved in violence set Will up for the same, passing on the gun to him after Sean died. I highly suggest this novel for all readers. It is extremely engaging and is creative in its writing style of poems and verses. Its message is also very important, especially in the times we live in now, where violence is common in oppressed Black communities. Thank you.